Hello, this is
Hiya.
Carl and Louisa Munson. This is the Munsons of the moment
The
here.
moment with the Munsons.
This is the moment with the Munsons here on New Reality TV.
How you doing today?
I'm okay, thanks. Oh,
I was asking the
weren't
people
talking to-
watching. I can
Right,
see we've got people
okay.
watching. It's always good.
Well,
yeah.
if you don't mind me answering that, that healing treatment you've given me,
Yeah.
blimey, it's knocked me for 6.
That's it.
Yes, it
Do you want to
has.
talk about that?
Well, if we have time at the end, which is very unlikely because we're talking to Amy, aren't we, in just a moment? Amy Dougherty.
Yeah.
From the Eyes Have It show here on New Reality TV.
Yeah, she's unlocking the ancestral code through observing the iris.
Talk about window of the soul, right?
Yes.
Not just your own soul, but the soul of your ancestors, the collective soul through your individual. I'm going to call it the eye print.
Ooh.
I don't know if she'll like that or not.
I'm sure Amy's got some different words for it.
Yeah, so please say hello in the chat if you're watching, if you're starting your day with us. Thank you so much for choosing us. I would like to think we're a bit of a tonic first thing in the morning compared to, I grew up with hard news first thing in the morning. I don't know how lovely it would be to have a moment first thing in the morning and start the day as you mean to go on.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it depends where you are in the world. So let us know in the chat room where you're listening from. Obviously, if you're in Australia, you're getting ready to go to bed and maybe we're the balm to somebody. So they're getting ready for bed.
That's right.
It's a bit of us nattering in the background and interesting guests. Anyway, talking of guests.
Hold on now. Has this healing treatment shrunk me as well? Why do I look smaller than you on the screen?
Is that better?
Did you?
Did
you program it to make me smaller?
No, I didn't.
Okay. How's your week going? It's Thursday. Do let us know in the chat. Let's bring Amy onto the screen.
Yeah. Hi, Amy.
Hi, everyone.
I'm glad you're here because we're a bit bonkers this morning. So maybe you can bring us into some levity and clarity.
She shrunk me, Amy. She shrunk me. I'm bigger on the screen. It's really fascinating what you do, and I saw a little nod of approval. The eyes are the window of the soul. Would you concur there? And can you expand on that and how, with what you do, basically, by reading people's eyes?
Yes, and I think you nailed it perfectly when you said it's really the eyes of our ancestors. Right. So what I find when I'm looking at eyes, I'm looking at the epigenetic patterns. I'm seeing gifts, talents, abilities, as well as unresolved traumas. So you have children, and I'm sure you see when they have situations where the same thing happens to them over and over again. A friend steals their toy, a teacher picks on them. These are typically ancestral patterns, especially if it's weird, bizarre, unique. If it would only happen to you, or happen to you up to age 8 to 10, it's ancestral all day long.
Wow. I love that. Yeah. I really, really love that. We've got people joining us already. A couple of comments coming in. Claire Mary saying, afternoon, guys. Tom Evans, a fellow presenter from New Reality, saying, my eyes are watching your 6 eyes from South Wiltshire, UK. And Claire Mary is also saying, sun shining in Glasgow for a change.
Don't believe that.
Don't believe that.
That's creative visualization. Or is it really? Is the sun really shining in Glasgow? My goodness. Thanks for being here, both of you.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. So I love that because, we do see patterns in our children. And so this is a new one for me, that family patterns might be carried down, in our eyes, like sort of kept in our eyes. How did you first learn about this?
How does somebody come across this?
Well, it was a very strange start. I was in Mozambique, Africa, doing survival skills training for children. And when I came back to the States, I wanted to continue working with kids, but I didn't have a college degree. So I had a nonprofit, and I was working out some different programs with my nonprofit. And then I came across this man teaching a class on conscious language. People who say, oh, I can never win. I can never find love. They kind of project their future. And he was doing something called biooptic holography, looking at the 7 layers of the eyes. And I thought, well, that's just the coolest thing. Yeah. And right. And so I studied with him. And then after him, I studied with 3 other people doing different versions of looking at behavioral iridology, spiritual iridology, different ways of looking at the eyes. But all the way, I thought something doesn't make sense here. If the eyes really don't change from the beginning, there's only a few things in the eyes that change now. And old world iridology used to think that everything changed. Now they know with better cameras and lighting that there's not so many things that change, but a few do. But most are there from birth. So I'm like, well, how could a person have imprints in sibling rivalry with brothers when they don't have any brothers because they're the oldest child.
Yes.
Wow. So yeah, at that point you're like, okay, I'm onto something here. I'm going into
exactly. And the one guy said eyes change all the time, but he didn't have any photos of it. I was like, So I mean, all the way through, I hadn't found the right thing, and it was kind of ticking on my shoulder, right? Hey, what is missing there? Well, then I got to the fourth or fifth gentleman who was teaching, and he was teaching about birth order and about ancestors, grandparents, great-grandparents. And I was like, that's it. It's not my issue with sibling rivalry with girls. It's my ancestors who had a challenge with a female competitive environment. Might have been sisters, but might have been the little girls cleaning hotel rooms or cleaning the tavern or down at the market or in the orphanage, right? And that's when it all kind of got started.
Oh my goodness, I've got so many questions for you. I really do.
Can I go back a little bit to iridology, because I had well, I'll just ask one question.
We're fighting over you, Amy.
Iridology, traditional, old school, as I think you put it. And I used to run a natural health centre in the UK, and when I took it over, there was an iridology rig, which was a fascinating looking bit of kit. With a little cradle you put your chin on and something to keep your head in position so that the iridologist could look into your eye. And ever since I first found out about the subject, I thought, this is fabulous. This is fascinating. The eyes are so important. The windows of the soul. How it's there's so much to it, and it's just so overlooked. Pardon the pun, as well, isn't it? With its potential. How is what you're doing connected to iridology? Is it the next stage, or does it run alongside? What's the connection between the two?
It's a great question. And I would say it runs alongside. You have a really great way of kind of looking through a window that you're not sure what you're seeing.
Yeah.
My expression to others, and I have many friends who are iridologists, my expression is, I didn't study the health aspects. And when we look into the eyes, I think it's like looking at a piece of land. You can have a demographic map. You can have a street map. You can have an elevation map. You can have a geological map. You're looking at the same piece of land, but you're looking at the same exact things, but you're looking at different characteristics. You're seeing different things. My personal analogy from my years of experience is, I believe what we're seeing is the DNA helix, like looking at fiber optic cable, right? So as I'm looking at ancestral patterns. As an iridologist looks, they're looking at health patterns. Neither of those has to be wrong. Both of those can be absolutely correct, because we're looking at the same piece of land. And again, just like looking into fiber optic cable, I truly believe, and I'm so embracing that science will look at this more closely in the future. But with the twist of left brain, right eye, right brain, left eye, that kind of thing, I really think we're seeing the DNA helix exposed in a place that we don't have to cut into the body.
Amazing. And we've always got to let modern medicine catch up, haven't we? Got to give them a little bit of time to catch up. Is that? Go on.
Oh my God, I am brimming full of questions, because when you were first introducing what you do, you mentioned epigenetics. And of course, epigenetics, my understanding, I'm not a doctor or anything, have no medical training, but my understanding of epigenetics is that we can turn genes off and on according to our environment and what we're putting into our body. And the idea of like DNA as being a set pattern, that's an idea that so many people have had for years. And epigenetics is kind of saying, but you can play with that pattern. Something else that kind of came up. So I'm layering a lot of different ideas here to get your take. I learned palmistry years ago. So you got your left and your right, and they don't change too much, but one palm seems to represent the past more, and one palm seems to be the one that changes more, I've observed. And of course, it switches if you're left-handed or right-handed. I wondered if there was some kind of past-future thing going on with the eyes as well. Like if one is more of the core pattern, and can you, if you are changing your life, can your irises change if you're doing it consciously?
There's nearly as many layers there as an eye.
I know. I'm so sorry.
7 layers to your question.
There was so many different bits there, but like honestly, I just want to buy your book immediately. Yes. I want to dive right in. That's why I'm bombarding you. I'm so sorry.
No, don't be sorry at all. So you are correct. Epigenetics is the ability or the body's transitioning and changing of of DNA. And the thing about that is epigenetics is also that they now know that it isn't just the gift for playing piano that passes down to us. It's also traumas with escape or not being listened to. It's also unresolved traumas showing up in our life. And yes, Tom, you have it exactly right.
Well done, Tom.
Popping in there. And so, as you said, do the eyes change? So there's only people who get the freckles and sunspots, those show up between age 2 and age 22. So that's a personality that's been made, not born. I mean, you were born first, but then it's been shifted, it's been adjusted. And those outside of that, there's very few things. The rings that tell about your motivators, those are there at birth. The basic openings, the structure, the blanketing, that's there at birth. And that's the thing that iridology has realized does not change so much. So that's why I'm pretty passionate about working with kids and young people, because I can tell you about your stuff and you're old enough to know what your stuff is. You know what's happened to you through the course of your life, you know all those things. But for kids, when they discover like how their energy interfaces with other kids and how they're going to have things that are going to hit their trigger that their brother or sister aren't going to have, then they start realizing things aren't always just their fault. They don't Yeah, they don't have to be at blame. It's not, even though they're like, it just keeps happening to me. So the analogy I'll use for ancestral patterns is someone will say, you never listen to me. Why can't you hear me? And they can be almost suicidal. And the next person can be, you never listen to me. Why can't you hear me? And they're almost murderous. And the next person is like, they never listen to me anyway. I'm going to leave a Post-it on the door. Right. And the individual does not have an ancestral trauma that's still triggering them. They are in a place where that pattern's been resolved. And we have so many things now in the 2000s that our ancestors didn't have.
Yes.
Passports, online, pay the pump. I mean, we have hospitals and ambulances, and we can get on a plane to see our loved one if they're sick. We have all these things they did not have. So we don't have to keep engaging those patterns. We can let them go. We can resolve them and say, I'm not engaging this today. You've said my name wrong 100 times. Today, I'm not engaging that. I'm just letting it go. It's not a problem.
Ooh, how lovely. There's a moment right there.
That's beautiful.
Sweet relief.
So this is fascinating to me. And I love that you mentioned about language as well, that kind of understanding language led you on your journey. So in understanding how somebody's tendencies are, maybe in their genetic footprint, their DNA, their irises, are you then able to, is your role there are you inviting them into a coaching conversation? Are you inviting them in to discover their trauma and release their trauma?
Can I extend that question? Because there are resonances for me here of a traditional Chinese medicine doctor, a homeopath, and doctors and carers of people and families who take a lifetime view, who could see you walk into the room and know that's how your father walked. You know, those sorts of things. Whereas modern acute medicine is like, well, we're going to deal with the acute problem presenting itself now. I'm not really interested in your history. I'm just going to sort that out. And there's a place for that. No question about that. But the true wisdom in health seems to be studying these things over a long period and seeing the patterns. So how old is, connecting with Louisa's question, and I'm interested in the history of the discipline of the science, because it must have taken the first person interested in this a lifetime to study it, such that they could share it with you, such that it could give this insight to people. And again, insight, is it amazing how many words come up that are to do with vision as well? Right.
It's true. So obviously Dr. Bernard Jensen, or maybe not obviously, but Dr. Bernard Jensen was, the founder of Iridology, or the one who's been given that label. And so he studied, the health aspects over a lifetime, as you said.
Right. Yes.
And then, behind him, I've got our gentleman with biooptic holography, and then someone with sclerology, and then someone with behavioral iridology. And so I've actually probably the newest in the ring. I've been at this since about 2011, after I came back from Africa. And so I'm just now coming into my 14th or 15th year, and it continues unfolding. Yeah. So for me, my husband and I one New Year's came up with the name Irigenics. We got up on New Year's and we said, let's make a word. Let's make a word for the Urban Dictionary. And Ira meaning the iris, the rainbow, or the iris of the eye, and genix meaning the study of the genetic influences of the iris and of the eye. And it will always be a study. I'm the beginner. As more and more people start looking, it's going to expand way beyond what I've done.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Does that make you tingle? Because you could go to astrology in the same way, couldn't you? Astrogenics. Thanks for that. I think we might be buying astrogenics.com later on today.
No. But I mean, one of the things, when I look at an eye, it's like a stellation. It's a star of some sort. And when I look at a birth chart, or there is this kind of mapping of potential in a circular shape, and like when I look at a birth chart, I feel like it pulls me in, maybe a bit intuitively, but it feels like it is. To me, it feels like a DNA, like I'm unlocking some kind of coding, like your birth code. I wonder if there's ever been a study that's linked iridology and astrology. I'm wondering how many other.
We've asked so many questions now. It's so many complicated questions, but you can see how excited we are about this.
Yeah,
it is exciting. And so I have an app coming out, a phone app, mobile phone app, and it's going to be out within the next month, but first week March, somewhere the week of March 7th to 15th, and that will allow people to start taking their own eye photos and to start their own little eye reading. And part of the reason I'm doing that is because up until now, I've been working a lot of holistic fairs and expos to read people live and to, work with them on their ancestral patterns. But I realized that I'm coming to a point where it's time to kind of deliver to the world, right? Yes. And so I've got to get back behind the scenes and get back into the study more and get the materials made. I had the option to just go out and teach 100 people over here and 50 people over there. But then you're wondering, well, are they doing it right? Did they remember what I said right? And what if I learned something new? How do I make sure everyone's got it? And so for me, I think I'm much more interested to bring books, videos, any aspect that I can where people can start diving in themselves. Once I get that done, then I can go out and look to certify people, et cetera, kind of like the start of human design.
Yes.
And as you said, Louisa, comparing the astrology chart to the eyes, please, let's sit down and do it.
I'd love to have an off-air conversation.
I feel the same way about human design. Like there's definitely a tie. I can see it.
Yes.
My husband and I have the same human design, but we have different eye structures, and our eye structures are very different. Not completely, but they're very different. And the way we operate in life is quite different. We are, as you two may be as well, we're the yin and the yang, right? He has the things I don't. I may have some of the things that he doesn't. And so for me, in all of our universe as it currently is, it's wholeness that attracts, not opposites. It's completion, right?
Completion, balance, wholeness. Absolutely right. What's his name? Can we give him a shout out?
Yes, it's Daniel Dougherty.
Hi, Daniel.
And is he a therapist or
He retired. So we are enjoying our first year of working at home together. But he was really the strong point behind Irigenics. I had been doing this work in Colorado, in the US, with social workers, with Department of Corrections, with Boys and Girls Clubs. And I came to Virginia to be with him. And he said, well, honey, nobody knows about this. You've got to bring this to the world. And so 2018 was when I first started working holistic fairs and expos. And now I've got a line from the time I walk in until I walk out.
Yes. And what a lovely way of seeing it. It's a lifetime's work.
Yeah, and now you've also got your show on New Reality TV as well. Is that a weekly show?
It is a weekly show, and there's a few pillars. There's people who have really interesting life stories, and we look at them through their eyes. We have people who are experts in other areas, like an astrologist or an iridologist, where we compare what I'm seeing in the ancestral work and what they're seeing in their work. So that's another pillar that we have. Adoptees, those who know nothing about their origin, where they came from.
Wow. Forensics then, basically.
I love that.
Yeah, a little bit of everything. And Louisa, I feel like I kind of came past one of your questions earlier. You were asking about time, what's current and what's past. So one of the things that was a surprise for me was, as we look at the eyes, we will actually see ancestral images. We will see an image of a policeman or a horse, or even a a rune stone or a hieroglyph. There's all kinds of things in there as you're looking at that macro image, as you're looking up close. So as I was doing the work, people would say to me, don't you see that baby? Don't you see that priest? Don't you see that bride? So finally I was like, wow, okay, God, if this is where this work is supposed to go, let's go. And since
I'm tingling all over. Do you know what? That sounds like also reading the tea leaves as well.
So shall we bring up an image?
Yes, please
I'll
do.
give you the mouse there, Mrs. M. We need to get Amy back. I mean, we've only got 10 minutes to go. We found ourselves in this situation again where, we barely scratched the surface.
It's all right. We're going to go very quickly. Now, people who have a 60-inch television may not see this image because smaller is always a bit better.
Yeah.
But Carl, do you see the Scottish woman? She has blouse.
Yes, I do.
Like a Bavarian.
Yes.
Beer tavern woman.
Yes, I do. Yes.
And so the woman, I took this photo a couple years ago, and she said, "Oh, that's my great grandmother." And she ran to the bedroom and brought out a photo of her. In the photo, the woman had her hair down. It wasn't the same as this, but nonetheless. So, answering your question, Louisa, about timing, the images that show up in the actual structure, in the iris, in the texture, those images are the same every time we take the photos. The images that show up in the sclera, in the moisture, on the surface, in the pupil, will be different every time we take the photos.
Oh, wow. I'm guessing you've...
this is mind-blowing.
Yeah, I know. I'm guessing you've come across Emoto, and I don't know if you've heard about... what's the name? Veda Rostin. There's a lady called Veda Rostin that's taking lots of images of water and putting intentions behind it, but also asking water questions, fast freezing it and seeing that. We've got lots of moisture in our eyes. Do you think there's an overlap there as well?
You are on exactly my page. That's exactly what I believe we're seeing, is we're seeing that energetic, that frequency together with the moisture. Let's bring up that other image,
miracle, isn't it?
because there's something a bit unique about this one as well. So what we're seeing inside our purple ring is a man's face.
Can you see
not seeing that.
There's his brow and his nose and his mouth.
And above, he's got a very high
forehead.
forehead.
Oh, yes. Okay, yeah.
Now, some people see that man first, but look at the shadow on his nose, how odd that looks.
Yes.
It's actually a man hunched into the wind with a dark jacket, light slacks, and dark shoes. And he's got something in his left hand, like a lunchbox. So some people will see the silhouette man first, the shadow on the nose, and others will see the face first.
Yes.
Louisa, do you see the silhouette yet?
No,
I see the silhouette much more clearly than I see the face.
I see the face.
Yeah, I see both, but mainly it's much clearer to me, the silhouette.
This is also reminding me of crystal ball reading.
I actually see a little silhouette of a man.
Exactly.
Sorry.
Just You're exactly correct. Sorry. You're exactly correct. Nobody has less than 200 images in their eyes. It's just a matter of getting that photograph and going in and taking a look.
Wow. Isn't that incredible?
Sure is.
I tell you what, once you've seen people in your eye, your life is never the same.
Can't be unseen.
And this woman, so this is the back viewfinder of my camera. You can see kind of the edge of the printing on there. So that very high resolution little 2-inch screen, right, just makes these images so clear. Now this man was so clear that I was at an expo, and people 4 tables over were saying, "Oh my gosh, there's a man in her eye." And I said, "Well, there's a man in everybody's eye. You're not going to
calm down, everyone."
Haven't you been listening to me all day? All day I've been telling you there's pictures, there's images in the eyes. Well, then everybody was flooding the camera. They were all up there. So I'm so excited to see people flooding their cell phones, looking at their iPhotos, getting that macro picture, and getting that opportunity to take a look at their own eyes and look up close.
But the metaphoricalness, the analogy, how we see life is through our lenses, the optics, the things that are there that we can't see are there. That's the bizarre thing, isn't it? That's what our sort of beliefs are like sometimes, isn't it? And the most deeply held things, which might be traumatic or character built or personality driven, they too are these images, really, aren't they? That we're looking through. So not only are we looking into this person's eye and seeing that, they're looking back out the other way, aren't they, through these things, presumably, which are the views of their life. This is what colors and affects their view of life, literally on their eye.
Yeah. And so I'm sure there's some tie between brain spotting,
yes,
EMDR,
yes,
again,
yes,
interacting with that fiber optic that's happening there, right? There's absolutely, some kind of mirroring that's going on there. And as science, weird quantum physics has now said that a thing can exist in a number of realities until it's observed.
yes,
The moment it's observed, it collapses to one option only, right? And so
yes, the one you want to see in a way.
Exactly. And what I find is you go back to this picture, any eye photo, time and time again, you'll see different things each time. You'll be like, wait a minute, where'd the baby go? And then you'll be like, where did that like lawman come from, or that cowboy? Where did they come from? How did that happen? And it's just a matter of, like you say, that energetic interfacing, that frequency in the moment. It's the same static picture. And that's why I always take pictures. As you mentioned, Carl, iridologists often would look at your eye live, and all of my teachers tried to get me to do that. But I like to take the photo because then you and I are looking at the same thing together.
Yes, that makes sense, doesn't it? That's very empowering.
It's not me poking at you. It's me saying, when someone has an ovaling to their pupil like this, it shows where they've been in a high impact trauma prior to age 2 or 3. It doesn't say you had this. It says, let's look at this. This is what it's telling us. This is what we're seeing.
Well, I'm really blown away.
Yes, please come back, because we've just opened our eyes to this.
Yes, I did.
And it is a real eye opener. This is extraordinary. You have an extraordinary vision. And I'm all joking aside, this is amazing. Look, because there are comments to deal with as well. I had 2 cataract surgeries at 44, young for that, apparently. I think that would be true to say, wouldn't it? Mother and her twin brother had the same young age at exactly the same time. So there's an ancestral pattern right there.
There's an ancestral pattern right there. So they've got an ancestor back there somewhere at that point in life, whether it was 44 or whether it was the point of being a parent for the first time, or it's the dynamics. The dynamics of the situation is where you find the pattern, and that's where you find the resolution.
And more access, different access to something that may be a factor in your life that you might want to consider being free of, or not having its effect imprinted on you so strongly.
Yeah, and I quite like German New Medicine as well, and they talk about, anything going on with our eyes is information that we cannot accept or don't want to accept, don't want to see. There's lots of different, there's like visual information that we might not be able to digest.
Exactly.
Good heavens.
Lots of different things.
Yeah, Tom's saying, with the right tech where you can see the retina, does it also contain layers, I wonder? Could you comment on that, Amy?
I would absolutely expect that it would. I can't comment to, Tom's a great scientist. I can't comment to it from the scientist side, but I can't imagine why there wouldn't be. You're still in that fluid liquid motion. The only thing is, they use retina scans because supposedly retinas don't change, that they can, map like they do fingerprints. And I do want to say that on New Reality TV, in the shorts, I have shorts on how to take your eye photos.
Right, it's good that you say that. It's good that you say that. Jodie Lee's with us. Very interesting topic for sure. There's no question about that. And Tom's saying, yes, sclerogenetics. Add that to the Urban Dictionary as well. Yes, Debs, you can rewatch at New Reality TV. And Jodie Lee, it's not a monthly subscription yet. It's absolutely free at newrealitytv.com. So you definitely check it out.
You can also rewatch this if you're watching from my YouTube channel, which is Feel Good Astrology.
Yes.
You can watch this on my playlist.
Absolutely. But we have to go now because we're part of a schedule. Just time to say thank you so much for opening our eyes. I make no apology
come back
for that.
Another time.
Please. We can explore how your mother's experience of the pregnancy.
Wonderful. We have to go, Amy. I'm so sorry. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. Bye.